Guten Abend, guten Morgen, herzlich willkommen, this is Fight, and today I want to show you guys my Detonate dead build, again. I initially made this guide a couple of weeks ago, but there has been a number of changes in the recent patch, and I have made a number of changes myself which aren't necessarily patch related. So I just wanted to kind of reshare the build with you guys. The idea is pretty much still the same. You blow stuff up, and you get fat loots. So let's have a look here. The main changes to the build in the recent patch are we can now pick up elemental adaptation really easily. It's just on the way right here for us. And the witch is now viable. As you can see here, you can actually start as a witch if you would like to, and you can still start as a Templar and as a Scion. And Desecrate was changed. That's a pretty big deal. You don't need to support Desecrate with Empower anymore, because Desecrate, as soon as it turns level 19, it will always create up to level 100 corpses, which means I'm in a level 71 zone right now, which means I will create level 71 corpses because Desecrate is capped adjacent to the zone that you're in. So that's a pretty big deal. Also, because of the corruption, the corrupt gems with the Val Orbs now, we can get up to actually we can get up to level 30 or so Arctic armor. I think you can get 30, and that's pretty crazy. Right now I'm actually using only level 24. And soon to be level 25, so that's pretty crazy, especially for Reflect. And as you can see here, the clear speed is still pretty much the same. I'm level 86 right now. I only have a 5 link Carcass Jack, so I'm missing about 40% area radius or so. But you know, it's still pretty good clear speed, as you can see here. Also, what was changed in the patch was elemental damage nodes, well, fire damage, namely. These used to be 6%, they're now 8%. This wasn't changed to 18%. So all the 6%ers, they were changed to 8%ers. So if you play on standard and you don't mind the potential dangers to Reflect, that's a pretty big damage buff for you guys right there. Me personally, for hardcore, you simply don't need that much damage, and it will just end up working kind of against you on Reflect maps later on. So what else was changed? You can get up to 100% fire resistance now with a Ruby Flask, and I don't actually have one on me right now. But because the Witch Tree is now pretty good because of this, mainly because of this node, Life and Mana. We go through these Effector Flasks nodes, which means a Ruby Flask now gives us 13 to maximum fire resistance, and because we have 80% natively already, which is not quite true, because Purity of Fire gains another 1% on level 20. So we have 81, and then we have Rise of the Phoenix, which puts us at 89, and then Ruby Flask is at 13, so that puts us at 100%, which, yes, in fact, means immunity, complete and utter immunity to fire damage. So we can even blow up the biggest bosses as long as we use a Ruby Flask, you know. So that's pretty cool, I think. So what else have I changed about the build? What I have changed was I've added Immortal Call with increased duration. As you can see, that procs a lot of the time, and this is really fucking nice. This prevents pretty much all kinds of burst damage, all the damage that Arctic Armor does not prevent, well, all the physical damage anyway. For example, if a pack of Roas charges me, only the initial hit is gonna do damage, and the following hits are just gonna be completely mitigated by Immortal Call. And I've also picked up Val Molten Shell. Let's pop that right here. As you can see, if we pop that, I love this build. I love this spell. This is really fucking fun. Especially against like fire LMP dogs. Oh, this guy actually hurts. Okay. This Leaper right here, if you see him, you should probably run. Not like I'm doing here, fighting him. That's pretty bad. You shouldn't do that. Oh, nice map. Yeah, that Leaper you saw right there is a invader. It's an invasion boss, and it's probably one of the nastiest ones. Now I can't target him quite well. Where is he? What's his name? There we go. Spine Snap. If you see this guy, a green Leaper, you should probably run. Just a word of advice. Alright, so let's go through the build here, because some of you might not know this build yet. So how does this work? Well, we use Detonate Dead, preferably with a lot of cast speed, and as you can see here, I got that 23%. That's pretty fucking good. That means I have 69% cast speed, so it casts really, really fast. Chance to Ignite is pretty much mandatory. Proliferation, very much mandatory. These are actually the only 2 gems that you cannot ditch for Detonate Dead. Fire Pen obviously just makes you do more damage because it double dips. It increases your initial hit, and therefore it increases your burn damage as well. Concentrate effect, very good, although because I'm only using a 5-link at the moment, that means, like I said, I am missing approximately 40% radius, and that's pretty crazy. But as you saw there, the radius is still fairly good. It's by all means good enough, right? As for leveling with this build, I recommend you play with Searing Bond until approximately level 60 or so. Maybe even until maps. Probably even until maps, because your damage is always based on the... Oh, this guy as well. This guy is also an invader, and if you see him, your best option is probably to run and not to fight him like I'm doing here. That's pretty fucking dumb. But as you can see, my gear is pretty good at this point, so I can afford to kind of fight these guys. Alright, so leveling. Yeah, you shouldn't use Detonate Dead. You should just use the Searing Bond, maybe Flame Blast for leveling until maps or so, because the mob's HP, the corpse's HP is just not going to be high enough to actually deal reasonable damage with Detonate Dead. And this is the cool thing about Detonate Dead. When you do 66 maps, you might sometimes feel like, man, I'm just not doing that good damage, you know? But as soon as you step into like 70 plus maps, which by the way aren't as scary as some people seem to think, every time you step into a higher level map even, you will notice that your damage increases. And this is pretty good, because you don't need to upgrade your gear. You don't need to upgrade your gear ever to increase your damage. Like, you just step into a high level map, and there you go, you know? Damage increased for you. So that's what I like most about this build. You never have to worry about how much damage am I doing, because it is always gonna be insane. So yeah, I would say this is a very beginner friendly build. It's a very early league friendly build, although at this point we're not really early league anymore in the invasion and ambush leagues. But yeah, this was my first character, obviously, and man, it was really, really nice. That's all I can say. As for the bandits, we kill all of them on Cruel and on Merciless. On Normal, we help Oak for the 40% for 40 flat HP life. And what else have we got here? Let me look at my amazing script, because my memory is pretty much a goldfish memory. Passive skills, right, passive skills. A couple of things have changed here. Not that much though. Elemental adaptation, like I said. I haven't got these sovereignty nodes, which is actually a mistake on my part right now. Once I get to the next level, I'm actually going to spec into these nodes again. So I have a higher mana pool, and I'm gonna ditch a couple of life nodes here to take these nodes, obviously. And then I'll get Mind Over Meta, which means I'll take 30% less damage pretty much from everything, because I have a fairly high amount of regeneration. So I can afford to run Arctic Armor as well as Mind Over Meta. Yeah, the witch tree, like I said, is now viable, so you can start as a witch, but I wouldn't really recommend it, to be honest, because getting yourself like out of this area into a useful area, because, well, the burn damage is pretty big, for example, for leveling, especially if you level a Searing Bond. It just takes a long time to dig yourself out of the witch area. It's typically something I pick up at around level 70 or 80 or so. And gem-wise, not much has changed. I have obviously switched my gem setup around a lot. Like I said, I have a level 24 Arctic Armor, soon to be 25. I typically put Flammability or Elemental Weakness into the same link, so it receives the +1 from the item and the +2 from Empower, just to give me 3% more, or should I say less, fire resistance on the mobs. We have here, this should actually be reduced duration right now. I haven't switched this yet, I'm not sure why. This should be a reduced duration right here, but I'm just, it's just here for like easy switching right now, I guess. So imagine there is a reduced duration right here. With Lightning Warp, with Desecrate and faster casting, like I said, we don't need Empower for Desecrate anymore. And what else do we have here? This is the cast when damage taken link. This is actually important that you put the link in this exact order. So cast when damage taken, Enduring Cry, and after Enduring Cry in the link order has to be Immortal Call, because otherwise Immortal Call is gonna proc, and then afterwards you're gonna get the endurance charges from Enduring Cry. So if you get the endurance charges before the Immortal Call, you obviously get a longer duration Immortal Call, and that's very desirable. Then we have here Life Leech, increased duration with Val Molten Shell, and I'm about to show you why this is amazing. You can switch this, for example, a Val Spark with GMP, or with GMP and Lightning Penetration, or Life Leech instead of Penetration, just to easily kill like champions and bosses. Pretty fucking cool. At the end of the day, this 3-link here is like, I'll totally leave that up to your imagination. You can put whatever you want, whatever you prefer in there. Obviously we have our auras here: Clarity, Purity of Fire, Grace, and we can switch Grace for Haste if you feel like you have enough armor. We also choose mana, obviously. In the offhand, I just have a couple of things that I'm leveling right now. And we have Searing Bond here, which I personally don't use anymore. But I recommend, like I said, you level with it, and I think I even use it in maps until 72 maps or so, and then I was like, man, you know what? I'm just not even using it anymore, so I just ended up ditching it.
I offered the gift of exile, and
so
used it to reinvent yourself.
Let me just quickly show you guys why Val Molten Shell is so awesome. And I actually suck, because I should have had charges in this thing, so this demonstration now sucks. The idea is pretty much you can blow up the entire the entire first and the second ad phase in a matter of seconds with Molten Shell, because stuff attacks you and you keep doing that explosion, and it's just glorious. I mean, everything fucking dies. And well, Dominus is still fairly easy to kill, as you can see, even though I'm not that high level, I'm not that high geared. That's a lie, actually. I'm pretty good geared. And when you do a Dominus on let's say Cruel, when you're progressing, I recommend that you drag these unique mobs, these champion mobs. You drag them, either you pile them up here, you make like a huge pile of corpses right here, or you drag them down here to Dominus himself where he spawns, and then you just proceed to blow them all up at the same time, and that's gonna kill him almost instantly in this phase. Oh yeah, I forget, I don't have Searing Bond right now. So that makes this fight, yeah. So Searing Bond is pretty good for bosses where they have a high HP pool. As you can see here, this is actually kind of awkward to kill now because I don't have Searing Bond. Because Searing Bond would add a fair amount of DPS right now. And I actually have to get charges. Wow, this is awkward. This is the worst Dominus kill in the history of Dominus kills. Alright. I only have one bleed removal flask right now, which is... oh, this one. I switched them around. So that kind of sucks. And also I shouldn't be using Elemental Weakness, I should be using Flammability, but I'm kind of a pleb and I'm not really focused on the game right now. So yeah. What else do we have? Gear, well, the gear is still the same, but if you haven't seen the guide before, we use Eldritch Battery gear, which means we want like a fair amount of energy shield as well as some armor, although armor isn't that important, because we can support such a high level of Arctic armor. As you can see, I have minus 273 for like this pretty much negates all the small hits on me. And then we have Immortal Call, which pretty much negates all the big hits. So physical damage is never a problem. So I don't know, you shouldn't worry about physical damage ever, as well as fire damage. A number of questions people ask me as well are, is this build viable for Magic Find? And yeah, it kind of is. Although I wouldn't recommend it because the clear speed is just not that good for bosses, as you just saw. I mean, there is better builds out there for bosses, like a Summoner, Searing Bond, anything really. Reflect is never a problem because we have Arctic armor on such a high level, and we have, like I said, the fire resistance. Valpact is another very popular question, and especially because of the recent change in the patch, it's only 40% effectiveness now, which is really kind of rubbish because, well, Detonate Dead isn't really an active leech. Like you do your explosion here and there, and you know it's just not sustained enough. It's just not reliable enough to justify using Valpact, because your life regen is not going to be affected. It's not going to take effect, which means I lose almost 200 life per second. So like, how am I going to survive if I don't attack? And once I've put my Desecrates down, I have to wait for the cooldown each time to do damage and to leech again. So Valpact is a really, really poor option. And the last thing is Searing Touch. Searing Touch, I'm often asked about this, can this build use Searing Touch? And yes, of course it can, but I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you're on Standard League, unless you really just don't give a damn. So for high level maps, you're always gonna want the shield right here to deal with Reflect. And pretty much, I think this is pretty much it as far as the guide goes. So yeah, if you guys have any further questions, you know, just pop into my Twitch chat. That's the best way to contact me, because obviously if I'm streaming, I can't read all your messages, all your replies on Reddit, on YouTube, whatever, on the forums. So yeah, if you want to just ask me anything, pop into my chat, and I'll help you out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this guide, and I'll see you guys around.